Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 18. My name is Sunwarper, and today I am joined by our friend and colleague Eon Lake. How are you today, Eon Lake?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, you doing well?
Quick and to the affirmative. Yes.
Quick and to the affirmative. But you've
I am.
had something going on, right? Didn't you say you got some new gear or something?
Oh yeah, always new gear. You know me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have to guess. I just assume you have new gear.
It was, well, in fairness, it was my birthday, all right.
All right, I'll give you
I
this
broke
one.
my no new gear embargo for my birthday.
What embargo is that? I've never heard of that with you.
It's this little fella. Look.
Oh, yeah!
Nice.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's aw- I have one of those. Those are sick.
So yeah, I can. Hang
Is
on.
that the Duo? You have the little stylus?
Yeah. And it's got an MS-20 filter on it. I didn't know that.
Really?
That thing's
and
a
an
beast.
external in.
Yeah, that thing's a
You
beast.
can run stuff through it.
Wow.
You can also get a MIDI mod for it if you fancy soldering.
They have like a delayed one too, I think, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
But I've
because
got
I have
Stone
that
has
one.
a delay on it as well. That it's really good for making like noise. They used it on the deep state ones.
Ooh,
But
nice.
yeah, this is on a new album somewhere. I don't know where. It's
Probably
got-
everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in slightly more serious news, there's another new thing in there.
Oh.
The
Oh, I
blue-
thought that was the new piece of gear.
there.
How could I be so stupid?
on the top row, the thing with all the lights on it. That's a 4MS spherical wavetable navigator.
Oh,
Wow.
and what does that do
Unlike
besides sound really cool?
And travel in time, maybe?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a 6-voice unit, for want of a better term. It's got 6 voices on it. It does wavetables, but instead of just morphing up in one direction through wavetables, it lets you do it in 3 directionals, almost like 3D. So they have this concept of planets or spheres of wavetables that you can navigate through and modulate through. It does some bonkers sounds. It's got 6 oscillators and 6 voices.
Oh,
So you can self-patch it and do all sorts of weird stuff on it. And it's very different, very different. You can get some proper searing, tearing noises from it. You can also record your own wavetables, edit them on your computer,
man.
record them in.
that thing's awesome.
So yeah, it does a lot of stuff. It's going to be all over all my new songs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I should say real quick, we're live right now. Everybody in the chat, hello. It's great to see you all. We've got Daniel. He's saying nice about your new gear. Shady Ridge said sweet. Hydrofighter, hello, gents. How are you, Hydrofighter? Good to see you. And Daniel says, my man got himself a flux capacitor. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, look at that thing. That's crazy.
That's a bit like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It is genuinely like a flux capacitor.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful piece of kit, yeah.
And then I was going to try to wait till he finished his sip, but also with us today is my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. How are you? What's going on, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, yeah.
Sorry I caught you mid-tea sip. Or
I mean,
I'll assume it's tea, not beer, but, you know.
It's definitely tea, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Sure,
English.
wink,
I'm always
wink.
drinking tea. So it's fine. No, it's gone 8 o'clock here, so of course it's tea. Yeah.
We're not animals.
No, exactly.
We're not savages here.
So exactly. No, I'm good, brother. It's been one hell of a week. It feels like, again, another one of those weeks where my feet haven't touched the ground since we were here last week.
Well, that's just all the acid and LSD talking.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about there. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. So yeah, but no, it's been cool. It's been a hell of a week.
Yeah.
Any
Any music stuff? Any new gear on your end?
Well, last week I said I brought back a load of stuff from the UK from
That's right,
back
yeah.
in storage. Yeah. I spent the weekend kind of piecing it together, putting it all in, cleaning and restringing the guitars because my god, they were a mess. If you want to leave your guitars in storage, don't
take the strings off. Is the attack? Not is it attack? What's it called? The fret level.
Action.
Yeah, action. That's
The action,
that's
yeah.
the word. Yeah, how's the action on them? Are they all right?
The action's okay.
Okay.
I had to do a little bit of work with the truss rods, but we're okay essentially.
Nice.
And we're getting there through.
Nice.
So I installed everything, and I've been making some like the very beginnings of not the album that I've been working on that's going to come out at the end of the year. But
Why finish that first?
Why finish that? Why finish that? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been making that. It's kind of like a folktronica vibe. So I've been exploring those tones, and that's been a lot of fun. It feels like home. So I found a good vibe. So it's cool.
All right.
How about you, brother?
Well, it feels like deja vu because we just talked yesterday to record Starstream, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast, which if you'd like to check it out, you can head to the link in our description, patreon.com/audionautic. We have that. We also have, you can get into the video chats here for ADSN. We let our patrons in usually about halfway. But other than doing Starstream yesterday, I haven't been doing much music because my wrist, as I mentioned in the Starstream, the doctor called me with my MRI results and he said, your wrist's fucked. So that was the medical terminology that I used. No, it's like tendinosis or something. It's not tendonitis, it's tendinosis. So I gotta do a bunch of stuff. No surgery. Yeah, I had to buck the trend of tendonitis.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
No surgery.
You hipster.
Luckily. Yeah, there we go. No surgery. And then they said like, hey, do whatever doesn't hurt. So like playing guitar, if I do it in shorter bursts, I can play guitar, things like that. Piano kind of hurts, so it's gonna be mouse and keyboard lately. But I see that look, Curtis. I saw that look.
I'm not saying it.
Man, I wonder how you sprained it in the first place. Yeah.
Well, it's the right hand, and I'm lefty, so I don't know what I did.
Sure.
But yeah. But you can have that dirty mind all you want, Curtis. We hear
that stranger encounter thing. We know.
No, I honestly don't know what I did to it. I think it's just over usage, like between playing guitar, piano, exercising, all that stuff. Work. It's just
being
like
a healthy, well-rounded individual, basically.
Health brings injury, I guess. What can you say, right?
This is why you need to eat some mushrooms. No one ever hurt themselves.
What is it that you say for eating mushrooms? It's accidentally falling and eating some earth. What was it that you said the one time?
Oh yeah, it was when I had some in my fridge, didn't I? And I accidentally ate the wrong ones, essentially.
Yeah. But anyways, all's good here other than that. The dog is in the studio with me today. He's sleeping. Can't really get a good angle to show you, but he's under this desk. I took apart the Dallas desk, and I'm building an ambient desk that's just all synthesizers and reverb reverb pedals, so that'll be fun. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. It sounds like we've all been pretty busy then. Running around. What have you guys in the chat been up to? We'd like to know.
Yeah, any new gear on your end to stick it to Eon Lake, who just always gets new gear?
It's always. I don't know how you do it. It's the Mary Poppins bag of gear.
I saw on Twitter though, the billows were banjoing bright, so that was cool.
Yes, billows. That's what we want to see.
Yeah. But anyways, what do we have in the news today?
Well, seeing as we have just been talking about gear, and Eon Lake has got new gear, and Billows has got a banjo, and you're building a new ambient desk, let's have a look at some gear to start off with.
Yeah. Nothing like gas, right? Gear acquisition syndrome.
Exactly. We all love a bit of gas.
Yeah.
And where better to start with this nodding dude here, which is just missed up.
A non-gold MPC.
A non-gold MPC.
They missed something there.
Try and look past the wrong color.
Yeah. Bear with us, guys. We did speak to Akai, and they have assured us that they might think about it. We'll see. But yeah, this you found this, Sunwarper. So tell us all about this.
Yeah. So I am always looking at different ways of performing, because I still haven't figured out a way I'm really happy with. But this just kind of was cool because it's an all-in-one to a degree. You get the MPC, but you get a keyboard, so you could perform things. You don't have to have a separate keyboard plugged into a thing and all this stuff. Like, you could really just bring this one thing and like maybe some lights or something to make it interesting. But it's just cool that it fits in this tiny, I think, 61 key. So it's an MPC. I think it's based on the MPC Live. Well, they're all the same like program, I guess, but in terms of the setup, it looks more like the Live to me than the One. And then they have the keyboard, and I think it has additional soft piano sounds and soft synths and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's got bloody everything essentially.
Yeah. Well, that's what I liked about it. I mean, I don't think aesthetically it's very pleasing, but if you're using it as like a performance workhorse, aesthetics don't necessarily matter. I mean, yeah, you want it to look cool on stage, but like the fact that it has all this stuff, you could do the sample chopping, like playback, you could do drums, you could do piano, you could have full songs. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, but the MPC workflow is basically just a DAW in a little, box. Yeah. So now you've got that with the keyboard, so it's cool. I mean, it's way less portable than an MPC proper, but yeah. And just really quick, over in the chat, Daniel said he recorded half a track the other day with the banjo, so he's coming right along. Nice. Yeah, that one you posted was great. And Shady Ridge said he's kind of going into summer break mode here. Yeah, you always take the summers off, right, Shady?
Do, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Hydro Fighter, he can correct us, but I don't think he stops. I think it's more Shady, right? That you need the break, or you take the break, get collected. But let us know. But what were you gonna say on about the MPC?
Oh, it's just the MPC software. It is something that you can run on your computer as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted to
have
a look at it, it is something that will run. Oh, and there's a computer component, so the two devices can talk to each other as well. But this puts me in mind of the old music workstations, like the old Korg M1 from back in the 90s. Stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just a similar concept, isn't it? I mean, it's got built-in sequencer, except it's not a sequencer; it's a DAW. You know, you've got audio recording and playback as well. You've got drums. It's a bit like like one of the Akai Innovation keyboards that's got all the controls on it, except you probably have to piss about assigning stuff a lot less.
Yeah.
I imagine on this.
Yeah.
But it does
how
make me think.
How have you gotten on with the workflow?
It's kind of logical.
Kind of?
Yeah, but it's also kind of like a door.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, I prefer the SP because it's just a thing.
Hey, I just want to make note. I did not mention it first.
We are 16 minutes in. No, sorry, 14 minutes.
But I didn't mention it first.
But I find it more immediate. It's just that. Why, if you're going to step away from a door, do you just step away to another door or a screen in another box? You know, do you know what I mean? There's just something about it that
so you find it not so inspiring then?
Yeah.
So it's basically just a portable DAW workflow. So it's like, why not just have a laptop or something, right?
Which is kind of a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's what it is. And this, I suppose, is the same thing, but it's like one of those massive surfboard keyboard things that you used to have with all the voices and sequencing power and all the rest of it. It's Curtis, not beauty, is it?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't fancy it much.
It's not very aesthetically pleasing. I was going to say, Curtis, because you mentioned that. What's your take on this?
Well, I was going to ask Howard what he thought more than anything, but he answered that question for me.
So now you got to share your opinion.
Now I must have an opinion.
Thing.
Now I must have an opinion. Well, this is as in I don't know. I think that I've got enough keyboards myself personally for now. My focus is not buying more gear or gear that I can't fit in a box, and this is something I can't fit in a box right now. The price as well is basically half a year's rent for me. So I'm like, maybe not on this account. Yeah. But for €2,000, that's quite a bit coming through. It does. All right. If you're gonna have a look at what it does have, like the versatility of it looks like it would be truly a master keyboard for all your needs.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't need to buy another one. But $2,000 and it's only semi-weighted. I'm a bit funny about that.
It does have aftertouch though, which is nice.
I know, but this has
I feel you, man.
This has aftertouch. This is aftertouch.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I've got enough aftertouch.
I think in terms of being like an all-around one piece of kit for like live performance, it could be cool. But like Howard, you can probably answer this. But can you put in third-party plugins into their workflow?
Yeah, it does do VSTs.
It
There
does?
are some things that you can get, and I haven't done much with it.
Is it
If I'm
only
honest.
like a closed marketplace where you can get ones approved for
I
it, or
think
could you be
so.
like, I'm gonna
I
upload,
think,
you
as
yeet?
far as I know, and anyone watching, please correct me.
Yeah.
There's like a storefront for it, and you can get packs and VSTs and so on.
Okay.
I didn't see a huge amount of range in it, and
Yeah.
when I was doing stuff on it, like the reverbs are just room reverb, hall reverb. I'm doing ambient stuff. You know what I want.
You want supermassive.
Oh, there we go. 16 minutes in. 16 minutes.
I had to. It was a perfect setup.
You know,
It was a perfect setup.
You need something with real ambience, right? Something with some serious tails on it. It doesn't. I mean, I use another plugin actually a hell of a lot that I've never mentioned.
How dare you?
How naughty.
How
It's
dare you?
112 dB. It's called Micron Cascade, and it's
Okay,
mental.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's one of those eternal reverb things. It just turns anything into a wash.
Ooh, I love that.
Cool.
I think I'm bored.
Yeah, you just couldn't do stuff like that on it easily. I find it easier to do lo-fi ambient stuff on an SP. It seems to lend itself to it a little bit more.
Mhm.
But neither of them have like massive cavernous reverbs or moon dome.
That's
type
true.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find the SP's reverb a bit lacking. I have to mix it with I think it's the time delay or the tape delay on the SP to get anything kind of ambient.
And even then, it's not quite what you would want.
It's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not. But it's a.
You want something that would be like a black hole or something like that,
Mhm.
or some even type.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, what about everybody in the chat? How do you feel about this Akai MPC?
Well, this, I suppose, is a little bit like, have you got any of those things already? It is an all-rounder. You can do everything on, all your loops, drums, bass, synths, effects, audio recording and playback, multi-tracking, sequencing, the lot, with mix compression and all the rest of it. It's just a question of whether or not you've already got a load of those things, whether you've got that kind of money.
And the price, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can see how that goes. Speaking of prices and buying stuff, let's have a little look at what's going on in the NFT world. That was a bit of a dodgy segue, but I'll take it for now.
I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know if I could give you that one. I should also say, as we're live, everybody in the chat, if you can help us spread the word, retweet our tweets, anything like that, it helps a ton. We appreciate it. And we've got some chats. Daniel says he'll buy 100 of them and build an ambient fort. All right. Yeah, that could work. That could work. Maybe fit a camel on the outside, just to have a camel there in it.
I need to tie them outside, definitely.
Yeah, and then Hydro Fighter says he thinks it's cool, but I wouldn't drop that much on it. I might if I was a gigging keyboard player. That's kind of my take. You could almost be like a one-man band with it, but you only need one piece of kit, right? You don't need any pedals. You don't need... I mean, maybe if you want to plug a guitar in, but I like that idea of it, but I don't see it as something applicable for, like, most of what any of us do. But Hydro Fighter, that's interesting. You would at least consider it, because I don't... It maybe because it's all soft synths, he'd consider it, because hardware... I don't know if he's going to touch it.
We'll see. So yeah, it's nice to see on that front. It's interesting. We bring up a piece of gear and then just slate it for 10 minutes. It's good fun. I like it.
Well, I think it's cool.
Very good at what it does.
Yeah, exactly. We're not trashing it.
Isn't it? Like most things.
Yeah, it has its purpose.
You can't knock the quality of them.
No.
They're very tactile, the controls and so on. It's nice to fiddle around and.
I wish it was gray though, like the classic SP.
I like classic
the one you got. You've got that live. That's the classic.
Red,
yeah.
The red writing. Yeah.
Shady Ridge says he'll just take what Hydro Fighter doesn't use anymore. Nice.
That's
a cost-effective way to do it. See, that's why I need Curtis needs to be here so we could just trade gear. But no, we have to be so far away that we can't do any of that.
We have to be so far away we write songs about it. That's all right. So that's gear, and we'll come back to gear in a bit because we have got a little bit more gear to show, a little bit more soft synth, I suppose. But seeing as we brought it up in the title, next big piece of news is a little bit mainstream, and it's not so much about the news itself, but it's about what it represents. And this is the latest from the NFT world. Now, we all know that wonderful underground artist known as Mariah Carey.
Yes. I've heard of.
Someone should give her an award for songwriting, I think.
I mean, she's very underrated. Very underrated. No one knows what she's on about, really. But this is the news.
I think she does Christmas music, right? Just exclusively Christmas music.
Yeah, are you sure? Maybe familiar. I'm not too sure.
Oh, really quick though. On the chat, Hydra Fighter said that Shady Ridge taking all of his stuff that he doesn't use is shady, which I don't know. Maybe, yeah, that could be shady if he's stealing it. But then he says, Shady Ridge says he's got a push sitting right here.
Ooh, well, there we go.
Daniel says that I didn't know this. Mariah Carey is a champion of indie artists everywhere.
Oh shit! Wow,
well, not just Christmas music, I guess.
Well, there we go. So, this is the news that I didn't bring this up necessarily for Mariah Carey. I brought this up because of what it represents.
Yeah.
So Mariah Carey herself is auctioning off a boarding pass, or basically an entry ticket to her Hall of Fame ceremony, which is going to be sold off as an NFT.
Oh, Songwriters Hall of Fame. Oh, there you go. They are giving her what? That's good.
Oh,
there we go.
She's worked hard enough. Let's face it.
You can get the NFT and go, Ian. Like, exactly. Be a part of it. Be a part of it.
What makes you think I haven't signed up for this already?
Well, with the amount of gear you buy, it doesn't surprise me.
Exactly. But yeah, so basically, one fan can buy an all-access ticket as an NFT to her Hall of Fame induction. It'll be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and they'll get in, and they'll be the only person in the entire world. So, what is damn interesting about this is the fact that we're starting to see all these predictions about NFTs starting to come out and starting to become a thing, where people are not. It's not just necessarily music-based. It's not necessarily an album or some artwork or anything like that. It is an experience, and people are selling experiences in NFTs now, which is bloody interesting development, if you ask me.
I mean, just imagine. I mean, you take that concept and you apply it to something actually desirable.
Savage over here.
No, but it's a really good idea. Drawbacks in this particular case, but
I do have some hesitations about it, but we'll get into it.
I mean, this, like I said, this is the. I mean, I'm going to start selling NFTs, and people can come over to my house, and I'll make them beans on toast, for example. I mean, that's
a proper English breakfast.
So yeah, but it is interesting to see these come. Now, obviously, this is in the mainstream. Obviously, this is in the popular dynamic, and it's not going to hit us just yet.
That's a bit where my issue comes from.
Well, go on, tug at that thread.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Chair?
My issue is, like, I've seen this before with big name musicians offering NFT things where you could go like backstage after a show or have dinner with them or something like that. It's cool. It's a really good idea. But I'm one of the people that keeps bringing up NFTs in these episodes. This one was Curtis's idea. I'm not taking credit for that or anything, but I think it's good, as I always say, to keep up with it and see, it's an emerging thing. Maybe there's something we can do from it, but it still seems like a lot of this is, I don't know if elitist is the right word, but like in these top tiered echelons where of course people are going to want to go try and have dinner with like Metallica or something, I don't know if they're offering one, but just like they have a huge fan base and stuff. But I still think that NFTs cater to that sort of already established group, artist, whatever you want to call it, whereas I'm not sure if NFTs there may be some that I haven't seen but can really show. Like, one thing I could see is it's offering stems or something like that. Like, you buy the NFT, you get the song, maybe the artwork, the stems and all that, like something somewhat tangible, which I guess isn't the point, but like that they can do something with what they want to. But yeah, I'm just not sure it's there yet for independent artists. And I don't know if it will be, because it kind of seems like it would need that sort of demand.
I have a theory that, I'm going to put myself out here now. I have a theory that it will start to affect us more as the mainstream expands. I think there's always...
that's always what happens, yeah.
Well, definitely. Exactly. Whenever culture expands, counterculture always expands. And not like we're counterculture, but come on, let's face it, we're a little bit counterculture in that sense. We're definitely not culture.
It's just savage left and right. We're not cultured, I guess. All right.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But my point is that like when things begin to enter in say the metaverse, for example, when experiences go into the metaverse, when you start gigging in the metaverse, this is when I think it's going to be more apparent and it's going to be more relevant to us.
No, this is just a devil's advocate, I guess. But wouldn't, as it becomes more mainstream, the counterculture move against it?
Oh, yes. Someone went to philosophy, didn't they? Yeah. No, you're completely right.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the only thing I'm saying is that we may see something... I mean, there's a lot in crypto, all these things being, like, decentralized and stuff could have a big thing for, like, a counter thing to this. But as of now, it seems like it's being taken over by this corporatized mainstream. And because they have the spread and pull... it's like going in their favor, which is fine. I mean, you know, it's something interesting. Real quick, Daniel says that we're the ambient punk scene. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, like you're raising your hand so patiently.
I'm trying to not talk over people this week. So my thoughts break down into 3 different areas for this. So the first one is Mariah Carey. My second is I suppose the NFT aspect, it gives you the ability to track.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what's going to prove useful in the various applications for it, is that traceability and that traceability back to the artist and so on. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. But I also, my third thought, I also wonder about how you're maybe pricing out some of your fan base if you're popular enough to be able to offer these experiences and so on. It's only going to go to people who can afford to buy it and so on.
Quite true.
And yet, you know, your fan base could well be quite varied, you know, and
most likely is if you're popular.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would think, I don't know, I would want to combat that somehow by giving some things away so that you're not just selling and that, you know, other people get a look in, because otherwise you're just sort of creating a class system in your own fan base.
That's true. Yeah, that's
a very good point.
Very good point. Yeah.
And I think that is, I think just that stems off from what Sunwarper was saying, in the sense that, okay, so we have this new Web 3 coming through, which we had this whole thing about Web 2, which then just kind of got taken over by corporations. Yeah. Maybe we're seeing the beginnings of that in that sense. And this is just a new form of that rebranding.
Web 3 hasn't even started, and they're like, we got to get on it before it starts. Just take it over. Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, I'll take my tinfoil hat off for now, but that is a very good point, Eon Lake. It's a very good point. So we'll go with that one. I'm not going to top that one, but we have got time for one more article before we move across to.
That's a shame, because that marketing was going to be Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. Never mind. I spoke. I spoke. I didn't even speak. I redact my statement.
Well,
But before we segue, though, not to cut you off, but I do want to hear from the chat. What are you guys' thought about this NFT, and does it create a exclusivity issue, like Eon Lake was saying, or do you think there's that it just doesn't, or there's issues with it, or what? Just curious to get your take.
We'd like to know. Yeah. I think it's still very much at the beginnings of this, still very much, but we'd like to know what we know, because I mean, again, we're always, as we always say, or as I always say, we're just 3 dudes with a camera and a microphone.
Daniel, I'll take you up on that. Daniel says, if you buy my NFT, I'll come to your house and eat all your food. As long as you bring the banjo and serenade while chomping down, then hey,
kind of into that.
Yeah, I'll be down for that.
He says, but in seriousness, I do agree. It's got potential for division. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. Elitism is always the way. It's always going to be a thing, isn't it?
I don't know if it's the way.
Oh, no, as in...
Redact that.
I am redacting that very much wholeheartedly. It is the way things go, and it is a shame that is the way things go. That's what I'm trying to say.
More inclusivity rather than exclusivity.
Yeah, it seems... I didn't even think of it in that way, but it does seem like it's breeding exclusivity, and yeah. I mean, there's probably ways to combat that by doing different things like free live streams of concerts or something, but you know, a major corporation is not going to do that, I don't think.
We'll have to see. So we got time for one more before we go into the round robin.
Yeah.
We've got, and I want to, as we've been speaking about gear, and it's a bit of a gear episode. the last minute piece that you found this morning, or my morning, Sunwarper, your last night, the new in for vocal processing week. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, it's a little late to talk about because the sales are over. But
Nice.
the reason I posted about it was because they have a bunch of YouTube videos about different ways artists do vocal mixing and use plugins from Soundtoys, which Soundtoys make really good products. No sponsorship or anything, but we talk about them all the time. So
As if we have sponsorship at this stage.
Yeah, well, I just want to clarify that, this isn't sponsored. It's just I thought this was really interesting. I'm doing a lot of vocal stuff at the moment, like with our collab. I just did it for Farther. So I thought it was interesting to see they have a bunch of different videos of how different artists, and I think they themselves, like from Soundtoys, use these certain plugins to do either really weird vocal effects or just like mix a vocal. But they also, I believe, and I think this is still up, they're offering free patches for their plugins.
Cool.
Either from these artists or like based on the things these artists are saying or something to that effect. But these effects, like Little Altar Boy, there's like patches to do these, really cool vocal effects and things like that. So if anyone uses Soundtoys and either messes with vocal samples or, does vocals to some effect, I think it's something cool to check out. Hold on, Neon Lake. Just Josh, Curtis, could you post that link in the chat?
I read my.
There we go. All right, Mr. Patiently waiting. I appreciate the hand raise.
No, it's just I do. I mean, who doesn't? At some point, if you're not going to do vocals yourself, you're bound to use samples and so on.
Yeah.
You might clear them. You might not clear them. You might need to change their sound somehow. I don't know. Either way, there's no way it's not going to be useful to look at that stuff.
Yeah. And even, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ian. Like, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if it's not vocals, it's interesting to try using those patches on other instruments to see what comes of it.
Yeah.
You never know. It might make a really cool sound. Going out of the box of the normal way of like, the guitar needs this, and this. Try throwing on some weird Little Altar Boy thing. Yeah. And seeing what happens, like what goes from it.
You mean kick drum, right?
Yeah, throw it on the kick drum. There you go.
Well, I mean, it's always good to learn the rules before breaking them, and Soundtoys are excellent. They are excellent for what they do. They're always a staple in my production.
Hashtag sponsored.
Hashtag sponsored. Yeah. Please sponsor us, Soundtoys. We'd love you forever.
Well, it's a little late for me. I've already got them all.
Maybe there's new ones coming. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. That always works on that front. It'd be nice to see. I'm a big Soundtoys. They've got a great selection, and also Waves as well. They're really good for balance. Because this is also the BBC. Just for balance, there are other vocal processors out there.
Really don't get on with the licensing mechanism.
Yeah,
Waves.
I was gonna say.
I
love Waves plugins.
Don't use because getting them reactivated was too much of a pain in the hole.
Didn't it cost like a whole other?
It's like 40
It's
euros
like this. I thought it was even more because like depending on how many you have, it costs more. I think or so. I don't like their re-up system or whatever you want to call it. I don't like that at all. That's what Soundtoys is like. You buy it, you got it, and they update it.
That whole system is awful. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I soldiered through, and me and a colleague went through and bought some and went halves, and the plugins are really nice. Yes, it's a ball ache.
Really good quality.
Yeah.
And I am so target audience for that stuff, and they have so blown it with me.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we can have a rant about that at some point.
Not interested.
We'll get to that rant at some point. Okay. You don't need to raise your hand for that one. Don't worry about it. We'll let you loose on that, but that's for another day.
So, on that note, I have just seen that Hydra Fighter has just popped into the lobby, and it is getting to that time. So, shall we? Let's let him in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's get him in. So, let's put him in, and the man himself.
Hey, hi.
Hey, we hear you, but we don't see you at the moment.
He's flash. There he is.
Hey, Hydro Fighter, how you doing?
Good. Hey, it just gave me just enough time to migrate my focus over to because I would have looked really dumb had I gotten logged in. Right?
What's happened to your microphone?
Bring your mic closer if you have your mic up.
There it is.
There we go.
Check 1-1. Check.
Can you
see?
Actually, I think that's good.
Am I hot?
You're a little hot. Yeah, bring it down just a pinch.
Hello.
I mean,
Yeah,
Hello.
that should be good.
I mean, I think you're hot Hydro Fighter. That's the way forward.
You know,
We're talking audio levels right now.
Are we? Oh, okay. Are we? Okay.
We are now.
Ooh, okay.
Don't get bothered. Don't get bothered, Curtis.
You're
I'm on it.
scorching.
I'm on it.
I know I'm only here for a half hour out of your week, man. But try to get you fired up, buddy.
It is the best half hour of my week, mate. It's the best half hour of my week. So, how are you, man? What's been going on?
I'm good. I haven't really been doing much musically, although I did try the sidechain with the reverb, and it's cool. I'm gonna leave it in there.
Oh, nice! Yeah. You did it, yeah. Was it Supermassive or was it something else?
No, it's cool. So I've got a lot of.
No, I mean, was it the plugin Supermassive?
Yeah, it's Supermassive.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's cool. So I've got a lot of different configurations going on with what I'm doing with the reverb. Just well, I shouldn't say a lot, a handful. So I'm controlling just the what am I thinking of? The threshold.
Yeah.
With the compression on it, and then I've got the drums running out in aux or as send, so that way I can keep the drums running without the audio necessarily coming out. That's the only way I can think about how to do that, unless you guys have a better idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because I still want that swelling sound, even if I don't want the drums playing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, a gate effect on something. I mean, like, we do it in techno quite a bit. Have a gate effect coming through and just kind of move it through with an LFO. That's how I do it in mine. But yeah, I mean, at least it's working for you. That's what you need to see.
Yeah, just do what works. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, I typically run the drums out of an aux anyway, so it's not that big of a deal for me to do it. I just want to make sure I can keep that pumping sound. It's cooler when there's not drums happening with it.
You could always do like a ghost, like it's muted, but having the effect of it too, right? Rather than like a gate.
I don't know if I mute the channel and keep it going. Is that what you're saying? You mute the channel and you keep the drums going.
Josh, you got a little hot.
I got a little hot.
No, not you, Hydro Fighter. Curtis, he's a little too close to the mic.
How about now?
That's just you just blew everyone's eardrums out. How very kind of you.
What I would do, Curtis, is just insert into mouth.
But Hydro Fighter, I think in Logic there's a way to change the send of a track to like not be sending, but you can still use its audio as a ghost.
Oh yeah.
Control, basically.
That's essentially what I'm doing by sending it out to an aux.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
The sends only, can't you, rather than sending it to the master or a group or any other audio. But yeah.
I'll send you I've got a link. It's a guy that I follow on YouTube who does techno tutorials. His name's Oscar. He's from Underdog.
Oh yeah, good video.
He did a whole thing about techno kicks, and I've now started putting techno kicks in everything essentially.
So it's Folktronica
rumble.
Techno kicks.
Yeah. It's that rumble underneath, and he does it really well.
Banjos and rumbles.
Is that what Daniel was saying about punk ambient? You throw a techno kick in there, and all of a sudden it's punk ambient.
Yes,
I guess.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I thought it was just because Curtis had tattoos, so.
I mean,
because it's ambient and we're a bunch of punks.
We are a bunch of punks.
Well, Mariah Carey probably has a tattoo too. That doesn't make her ambient punk.
Oh, we don't know. She might have this double
or
life.
Does it?
Oh.
She is pioneering NFT hangouts, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. I would like Mariah Carey to buy my NFT so she can buy me a beer and then some.
Nice. Yeah, that would be nice. I've just put that video in your Twitter inbox, Hydrofight. It might be useful, it might not be, but I mean, I love it, so it could work.
I'll check it out.
On that note, something that I mean, another major plug-in manufacturer I'm fond of is Output, and they've got a really good one called Movement that does that sort of thing. Does good pumping effects. It's a way of applying oscillators and so on to sound and making a pan and gate, and you can do slightly more complex things than just the foot on the floor pumping, although there are settings for that, but you can do ones that change where you got different rates at left and right and stuff like that as well. So I use that a lot sometimes to get a bit more interest on pads. You can use a mix, so you don't have to have it all the way. You can just have a little touch of it, just to give a little bit of rhythm to your pads if you want to. It's another thing to try. I mean, it's a similar thing. You know, you don't have to use a kick drum. You could use an irregular, any kind of MIDI signal to fire a gate and put the gate across whatever sound you're using, in the same way as sidechaining a compressor. Compressor works quite well because of the envelope of the compressor can be quite organic and not too sharp. But if you want to get something really aggressive, then you can gate or use one of these specific effects for it as well.
Nice.
I
That's
feel
cool.
I feel like I've used some of their things before. It sounds familiar, but I
I've got 3 of them that I use a lot. Portal, Movement. I forget what the third one is. Really good stuff though they make. Not cheap though. Get them in a sale if you can.
Well, that's
Well,
the story,
speaking
that's the
of
story
cheap,
of our lives.
though, if we need money, what about releases? Let's talk about releases.
Hell of a segue. That might be the 3-star segue of the day.
3-star? We're not going 5, huh?
We only have 3. We can't
we're
afford
that.
5. We've got 195 subscribers.
We'll
We
get
can't
there.
afford 5.
Well, if you'd like to help us get to 5 stars, head on over to our Patreon. Real quick though, Daniel just said that we've got a new genre: avant neo ambient punk nightcore. Yeah, I think that's what Mariah Carey's doing now.
That is
I think
exactly
that's what
she
she's
did.
starting. But anyways,
yes.
round robin.
Go
Curtis,
ahead.
give us the.
I wanted to bring this to the table this week. I wanted to talk about releases. There's been some talk in about the week about scheduling releases, how far to think ahead and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. How far ahead do you guys tend to think? What are the reasons for that? Is it purely the amount of stuff that we're making, or is it foresight or anything like that? Because over time, for example, things were I would make and release, and now I'm starting to get a little bit further ahead. And I know working with Sunwarper so much, I know Sunwarper's on a similar wavelength. But I'd like to get some ideas about the pros and the cons and everything else that is kind of going through with that. So, releases, scheduling the releases, how far ahead, etc. Hydrofighter, would you like to kick us off today?
I don't know if I have an option here. I think I will, though.
There's no option. We're just being nice.
Well,
Asking, but you know.
Shady and I have these conversations all the time. And, I think it just kind of depends on, what you feel like at the time. Sometimes we have the notion a lot over the past year. We've had this conversation where we feel like releasing the whole release and not teasing it too much is kind of a good idea, because I know you want to advertise for yourself, but at the same time, I would rather just drop it out to the listener and have it available, the whole thing available for them to listen from beginning to end. We're album listeners. Now, if you're doing singles and EPs, you might approach this a little bit differently. And depending, what do you have up to tease it? You got videos, you got audio, how much you want to tease it in advance. You want to do it a week before, a couple weeks before. Now with Sunwarper, I know you're kind of doing the release singles before the full album type of thing.
We'll be getting into that. Don't worry.
It's a different type of style. I think there's a million different ways to do it, and I don't think any single one of them is a bad way to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that works interesting. So I won't lie, that was completely opposite of what I thought you were going to say, and I'm wonderful for it.
What did you think?
That's how I thought he was going to say. Because look at the last couple releases, you guys kind of like not surprise dropped them, but they're like, boom, it's out, or like it's coming out next week or something. Yeah.
I mean, you can always promote it after the release, and then you've got every song out there for the listener to grab.
And it's a very enlightening way of thinking about it. Basically, you want just the art to be out there for people to enjoy. Scuppering, my word's not in place today, but just removing any form of promotional. It's not a product. It's not a thing. It's purely a piece of artwork, and that is something that is honourable. I say.
I mean, at the same time, you guys seem to have an approach of not wanting to oversaturate as well. You don't
not wanting to not overdo it, not shove it down somebody's throat.
Having pause between releases and giving time. To
I mean, really, a lot of the marketing with it comes after the release, anyways, because the guy's playing it on the radio shows and throwing it into your set list and whatever you guys do. I mean, that's when it's released. That's when you get most of your advertising out there, I think. I mean, that's personal preference. It is cool to tease it, though. I think to get somebody excited about, hey, there's something new coming out from this guy. I can't wait for 2 weeks. What I don't like is seeing a release. And this seems to be more on the major label type of stuff, where it's like all of these hit songs are all burned out and used before the release is even out.
There's reason they do that. But,
because they're waiting for them to create a trend on TikTok.
Well, that, as we talked about last week, but also it's a streaming thing. You get to promo and keep pushing and pushing, and then each thing gets more numbers and higher numbers. I'll be talking about something to that effect. Less, I mean, it's not for that reason, but it's called waterfall releases, where you do, like, you release a single, then the next single has two, the one before and that one, then the next one has those two and the new one, and so on and so forth. But we'll get into that. That's we'll be there in a minute, but that's why they do that. Daniel seems to agree with you, though, Hydro Fighter. He says, the few pre-orders I've done, I noticed that many people would listen to the available tracks, but they'd move on by the time it was fully released. Full release curbs that a bit. I have a question, though, Daniel, to that effect. Are you saying they listen and not buy it? Or do you find when you fully release it, more people are buying it when they listen to it? Just out of curiosity.
That's what I do. I mean, sometimes I won't buy something until it's fully released.
Oh, so you won't buy the pre-order?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I like to just I like to download my stuff and put it onto. I mean, I don't necessarily always listen through Bandcamp. Yeah. Sometimes I throw it into iTunes or whatever, and I want to listen to it from beginning to end.
Can you not download those before they're released, or is it just you want the full effect?
I want the full album. Yeah, I don't want to get two. I don't want to get two singles out of it and then have to go back and do it all over again.
You want to batch do it, right?
I'll sometimes get pre-order, but not actually listen to it until the whole thing's available, because I don't wear out a couple of songs and be listening to the album. Oh, it's this one. I know this one quite well. And I'd rather just they all have the same sort of amount of use and wear.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I can listen to it as a, an album. I'm an album listener too. Surprise, surprise.
Well, what's your take on release schedules then? Do you?
I think it's
schedule it out.
A lot of different things. So I think Hydro Fighters hit a pretty important point in the sense it depends what you're releasing, whether it's a single, EP, or album. I think a bit of a lead up is key. I mean, obviously for me, it's not always my decision. Sometimes it's a label. And it's also dependent on the format. Obviously, if it is ever going to end up on vinyl, it's going to be a long lead time, possibly a year. But I think key for me is to make sure that radio shows have the ability to sort of listen them and play it. And with the amount of submissions that they get, bless them. I mean, we all know our shows that we listen to, and they do something incredibly valuable in our community. There wouldn't be a scene without them. It takes a long time to listen to all the stuff that they get submitted and to actually put it into shows they're doing way in advance. For those reasons alone, I'd want to do it, months early, ideally. And give them an opportunity to sort of, yay or nay it, and see if they want to actually include it in any of their programming. That's one of the key things for me, really. Do people really need a big lead up to me? I think people are going to listen to it and buy it anyway. They don't need to know that you've got an album coming out in 6 months. They'll need to go nearer the time, perhaps.
I think a lot of it for me, though, too, is like, when are you done with production of it, and what time in between the release and the production part of it do you need to get marketing tools set up?
Yeah. Well, this is the point, isn't it? Is in there could be a bit of a delay between finishing production and then needing to promo it. I think there's a difference between there's the backstage or the back office stuff where you're submitting to playlists, you're submitting to radios, and you're doing all that stuff that's away from the public eye. And then in the lead up to the actual release, that's when it comes to the forefront, and that's when it kind of starts coming through. There, I think there's two kind of campaigns, really, aren't there? There's one that you do.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And the latter one's actually quite close to the release, or relatively close to the release, because you don't want to wear out people's attention either. There's a limited amount of interest that they may have.
Yeah, I used to try doing 3 week, 3 week campaigns like 18 months ago, like in the early days of Audionautic, even when it was like Third Eye Records and stuff like that. Like, and I personally just got bored. I was just like, I ain't got time for this stuff. It's sunny outside. I want to go sit under a tree. Like, I don't want to do that. You know.
See that impetus.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting where they go. The onus, I suppose, it's interesting how we go down the marketing line of it. The sheer content around it. So, for example, my releases I've got scheduled up until January next year, because of just the way that it works. Obviously, me and Sunwarper work, we have to kind of tie things in with each other, and we kind of space in and out of each other, so we're not stepping on each other's toes.
But we inevitably do. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We usually fight about it quite often.
Sunwarper's got big feet though, right?
What's that?
Say that again.
Sunwarper's got big feet. It's easy to step on his toes.
Well, you know what they say. Anyway, so we've had a very innuendo episode.
This is an odd episode.
It is an odd episode.
Really quick though, in the chat, Daniel responded about the pre-orders versus full album releases. He said he's had very few pre-order sales, a lot more luck with full releases, and then Shady said that we've not had much luck with pre-orders. The way I feel is that it goes back to my childhood buying albums, sitting down for the first time, listening to the album in full. Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, back when we bought albums based on what the album cover looked like, and we didn't know what it sounded like.
That's the way forward. Yeah. I think I'm getting to the stage now where I don't have much of a social life. I don't go out much, and my evenings are usually spent in this vicinity doing stuff with the stuff that's here. And as a result, I've got quite a bank of stuff that is just sitting, waiting to be fired off into the big wide world. As this is my full-time job, consistency is key and relevancy is key. And sadly, you have in the days of Spotify and the algorithmic that plays, consistent releases are necessary in order to stay quote-unquote relevant, so to speak. And having an arsenal and planning and just having stuff there can really help you go off. When I started doing this full time, I was scrabbling to kind of literally put food on the table. And nowadays, when you've got a consistent stream of things coming through, consistent stream of things coming through, that's a better one. It's easier to get these things done, consistent purchases and things like that, and rotations on radio and stuff like that.
Are you seeing that from an artist side of things or from a label side of things?
As an artist, I'll say as an artist.
Because I don't necessarily agree with that, and you guys know I haven't released something for over a year. Because I would rather release something that I think is quality, and by the time I get it released, I'm not going to think it's quality anymore. But I'd rather bank it up. I don't want to release so much that I feel like people get burned out on me.
Well, there is a very good point, and that, I suppose, is the onus, is the balance. We were doing this with Sunwarper's releases last year, kind of trying to find that balance between oversaturation and relevancy, essentially. I mean, have you found anything, Hydrophile?
No, not yet, but I've only have like a handful of releases out there. I mean, I would personally like to release more often. I think I'm going to go back into like probably twice a year, smaller releases, but twice a year type of thing. But that's just more satisfaction because I don't want to get burned out on what I'm working on. I just want to do it, get done, move on to the next thing. What I'm working on now, it's overbearing.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, finally, so then Sunwarper coming in to allow
bucking the trend, bucking the trend completely. But before I do that, in reference to buying based on artwork, Daniel says it's got a dragon on it. It must be cool. And then Shady. And then Shady Ridge.
Records just because the picture.
Yeah, I mean that the artwork sells even today. I mean, you look at like on Bandcamp Daily or something. If you're on that and you see a cool artwork, you might click it and listen to it. But then Shady, talking about labels, had an interesting point. He said running a label at our level is tough and time-consuming when releasing more than an album a month. We try to keep a limit, and if we did 6 to 8 a month yearly, we are much happier and benefits the artists. Yeah. I mean, before I get into my own personal thing, we find with Audionautic, we don't want to release more than one, maybe two things a month, and it also depends whether it's a single or an album or thing like that. Like
or even if it's us or someone external.
Yeah, I'm talking label at all. You know, we've kind of been trying when it's a full album release, we do less. We don't want to release another thing that month because of promo and things like that. Now, I have quite a different approach than most of you. Curtis, you're kind of similar, but it's still a little different. I like to. I mean, I'm always making music like Curtis, and so I've part of the whole process of Future Fade was to figure out how to like finish things quicker and things like that. So I like to try to record a lot of things at once and have a backlog of stuff that's like done or near done, and then have another group of things that are near done, and then I'll drip feed out those done things, maybe 3-4 singles, and then an album for that year or whatever, right? Last year I did a song a month, and when I'd released the monthly thing on Spotify, I didn't do it for every month, but I started to near the end. Those numbers kept going up. But I noticed as that year went on with the Bandcamp, those numbers went down until the album release, and then they went up drastically. So this is anecdotal, it's just me, but I think it's interesting to take note that it's almost like two different beasts dealing with streaming releases and album releases or Bandcamp releases. And so what I'm kind of doing this year, and I'm still figuring it out, and we are, because Curtis is helping me a lot as Audionautic with this. My album Radiant Visage is going to come out in October, and so I've slowly been releasing every 6 to 8 weeks a new single from it. Now the album's 11 songs, and I'm doing I think 4 singles. These singles, I didn't do pre-orders for them, then I did a pre-order for one, and then I tried not doing a pre-order, and they kind of all had the same amount of buys and things like streams and things like that. So I don't have as big a thing about the pre-order versus not. I think it's cool to put albums up for pre-order, especially if you're doing physical.
Let me ask this quick.
Generate that. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you were releasing the singles, now when you go buy the
for
album
this year.
again, you're going to release the singles and then you're going to release the full album. Are you going to charge the consumer twice for those same songs?
I don't know. I was thinking of offering like a discount thing. Like, hey, if you bought it, emailed me and you get XYZ. But it's kind of like the singles all have other songs or remixes or things like that won't be on the album. So you're still buying more than just the single.
I mean, I get it because that's what Tycho did before he released the Dive album, right?
Exactly. And like I said, it's 4 out of 11.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're still getting, and you could get a CD or something. And the digital comes with 3 extra tracks that the CD will have. So it's like 14 or whatever, you know, that, but anyways, so what I was talking about earlier with that Waterfall release, this is a way for mainly streaming. I haven't really tried it with Bandcamp, but to your point, Hydro Fighter, this might kind of work in that way. A Waterfall release schedule is you release the first single, and then when you release the next single, you have that previous single and the new single on it. And then you keep doing that where each single has every single from before on the new one. The reason for doing that is twofold. One is every time the new one comes out, it has stream numbers on it based on the other songs that had been streaming. So it kind of looks good for the algorithm to be like, oh, this thing's already getting plays. It has 1,000 already or 2,000 or whatever. The other thing too is if you get a song on a playlist or a big playlist or, you know, something like that, if someone checks you out by hitting view album or view artist, they'll find all those things and may listen to more, rather than when you just click a single and you only see one song and then they move on. You're giving them the option to check it out. Now, I haven't tried it with Bandcamp where each single would have more. That could be interesting. But yeah, those are the main reasons for Waterfall releases. I kind of like the idea because it's like you see kind of like what I did with Future Fade, where the album is slowly growing and then the album comes out. So it's just
but I think you guys have a different perspective on it because you're looking at music as more of a professional career type of thing, right? So you're doing a lot of analytics to see what are the best results and what platforms are you getting the best results, and you have to do it if that's what your approach is. Now, from my perspective, where I'm comfortable with my job and I'm doing music more as a hobby, I tend to do what I want to do.
Yeah,
right?
But like you just said, you want to release more, right? You said you wanted to release twice a year. So it's the same thing.
I want to have more hair on my head too.
But it's the same thing. I just mean that even if you're doing it as a hobby, you could, like what I do, batch 10 tracks, and then you could release it as an album if you wanted to, or release 2 EPs out of it. And while you're slowly releasing those 2, you could be working on another batch of 10 or another batch of 8.
I like the element of surprise and not putting too much out there all the time. And I think I stated that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it like I said, it's not right or wrong either way. It depends if you're trying to pursue it as a living, but also want to pursue it as art. You have to find a happy medium there. Yeah. I like to just finish songs and I want to get them out and I schedule them. So that's just me. If you don't like to do it in that way, then you just don't like to do it that way. It's all what you like to do.
What I feel you're uncovering those is that there are conflicting needs to be met. I think the streaming market and the way of promoting things in this current iteration of our machine it favors this regular thing, and I think knowing your audience is an important thing, and I think fans and so on and people who are genuinely interested in you just want to know when there's something that's out that they can listen to that's ready. Do you know what I mean? And that those two needs are not always in sync. There's sometimes the trick is actually landing somewhere in the middle so that you're kind of playing a little bit on both sides and you know, you keep everyone happy. That's certainly what I try and do. But I mean, my advice is to do what I do, and that's to
buy gear.
Guru. Buy gear,
I have a guru for these things. He's kind of like a co-writer. I ask him everything that I need to know.
It's super massive.
Yeah, I want to see this. This is. I can't tell this is. Hey! Hey, there we go. That works.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. Like,
I want to trust your instincts.
Well, it's like what Shady said in the chat. Personal preference, all good. Yeah.
Exactly.
I ran into a bit of a not sticky situations because that sounds like a negative thing, but at the beginning of the year I put a shout out to people and say, hey, I'm looking to do more collabs, I'm looking to do more remixes, hit me up. And I thought I was shouting into the void. Turns out a lot of people kind of hit me up and went, hi, you're right. And I was like, cool, all right. And I love working with people. I love working with people. I love taking stems and manipulating them, and I love like that back and forth, building that community, that kind of thing. And I love it. So I have no ability to say no when it comes to that sort of thing. So like they're just the tracks just keep piling up with stuff. And Sunwarper's like, you got to put something out yours. You got to put something out yours. And I'm like, I know, I have all this stuff. Like I have all this stuff and it's really good. I want to put it out. It's really close to my heart, you know. But yeah, personal preference and knowing to create balance. I think is the name of the game.
It's difficult trying to balance all of these things, isn't it? I think that's where we're identifying here. That there's a lot of different things to try and juggle.
Definitely a good topic, though. I mean, we all have different viewpoints on what it is, and I think every one of them is good.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add one thing too. I like to think in terms of like balance. You think of it this way, like I'm just putting those singles up on Bandcamp if someone wants to check it out before the album's out. But I'm mainly doing those singles to keep up the streaming thing. So I'm trying to find that balance in terms of like, well, if you want to keep up with me on Bandcamp, you don't have to buy it, but you can listen to it there. You could buy it. You could wait for the album. I put, hey, this is a single from the album. It's coming out in October. So if they want to wait, you know, I have no problem with that. But it's like, hey, it's there if you want it. And if not, it's cool. It's also up on Spotify if you want to check it out there. You know?
You're just teasing me, man, because you know I'm itching to, especially when you're gonna sing on a track. You know I'm itching to. I better get that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just me trying to find balance for me. But you know, like Eon said, it's just find the balance for you and personal preference, as Shady said, and you were even saying that Hydro Fighter. So yeah, you know, I just want to give the option that this is a thing. Like that, and what you were mentioning about artists like burning out songs in that way, that's also the side, like the con of doing a Waterfall release if you really exploit it. So it's just all things to consider. It doesn't mean by doing Waterfall you're exploiting a track, but if you are pushing it to like every radio and every, you know, every month or two, like you might be, you know, burning things.
And like Eon said though too, I mean sometimes it's out of our hands, it's up to the label. I mean you think about, You know, we're a
Yeah,
Fox.
shady.
They've got stuff queued up for the next year, probably plus,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
Next year and a half, I think, at least. Probably 2.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a way forward, you know. And I mean, from just as I can see in a way why, because it clears the mind. Like the schedule. I mean, I love Google Calendar. I think I've mentioned it on a few occasions.
Yeah.
Take a drink.
Like the idea of planning ahead is really useful to me, just as someone who has a lot of stuff going on. I can imagine Fraser at Where a Foxmer is like, yeah, his head must explode with the amount of stuff going through. And so to be able to plan a year and a half ahead, just have that organization, so that just your mental health and your ability just to kind of create space for yourself to be a normal functioning human being outside of a label, outside of music, I can see that being a very beneficial thing, essentially.
Yeah.
Sunwarper, did you have anything more to say on Waterfall marketing, on Waterfall releases?
No, that's it. I just wanted to say thank you, Daniel. He said in the chat that the Sunwarper's vocals are cool as fuck, for real. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're doing more we got a collab with Curtis, and then not on the album. I think there's only one other song with vocals on the album, but after that, I think I'm trying to do an all vocal album. If I can write enough lyrics, we'll see.
Let's see. We'll wrap it up there for now, because that is the end of the show. We hope that you guys have enjoyed it. I mean, it's always fun at this end. Just giggling. I mean, the cats are enjoying it. They're fast asleep, so we must be doing something right.
Yeah, Obi's sleeping. My dog. He tried to move around. I had to turn the air conditioner on because I think he was getting hot, but he's back on the bed now.
But thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen, and thank you very much, guys, for joining us in the chat. And we appreciate your company. We really love hearing what you guys have to say.
Always great to have you guys on. And just real quick, we also have the podcast and Binary Stars over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to help the algorithm, leave a like here, but also give a rating because it helps appease the algo gods. But no pressure, it's all good. But if you want to help, it's there. We appreciate it.
We do. Hydra Fighter, any final words, sir?
No, I think I'm good.
Good.
I'm restricting myself from the secret
He seems
word.
hesitant.
Eon Lake, anything you want to say before we jump off?
No, let me just ask the guru. Anything, mate? No? Okay. Yeah.
Are you gonna put that on the whiteboard, or does it have like a pride of place on the whiteboard next to like only use one
It
chord?
moves around. You find him places and it makes you jump.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. That's excellent. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for chatting this evening. It's been great. And we'll be back next week at the same time. For now, take it easy and ciao.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.